Welcome to The Naomi Show.
Hi there, it's great to have your company, and I'm joined today by psychologist John Aiken, who's here to talk about how to end your relationship if you want to move on. And John, it can be a tricky one, can't it, particularly if you still care for your partner?
It's very tricky, but I think in today's world particularly, what disappoints me is that a lot of people are not being responsible for it. They're not having those awkward and difficult conversations and fronting up with their partner and telling them what's going on. Instead, you hear these horror stories about breaking up over Facebook or texting them and dumping them. Disastrous.
Isn't it? Yeah.
So I think because it is such a big thing, a relationship, you want to give it the respect, and that means breaking up and being honest about it and doing it one-on-one.
I think there can also be a lot of guilt involved, can't there? If you're saying, look, I used to love you, but I no longer do, and I want to move on. So that's kind of hard to deal with.
There's lots of, as you say, you're quite right. There's lots of feelings involved. You know, guilt can be one. You can really be hurting them quite badly, and nobody really likes to see their partner who they've been with for some time bawling their eyes out. And there may be also some anger involved or resentment from what's gone on. And you may have also found someone else, so there are feelings of real awkwardness about all of this, and what are they going to ask me? But nonetheless, you've got to front up and be honest and see them face to face. It's very important.
Because do you think that in this sort of situation, this is why sometimes people end up going out having an affair, because they want to get out of the relationship, but they just can't bring themselves to take that step and confront the pain that the other person's obviously going to confront?
That's right. People often like to avoid conflict, and if you like to please, then you're in a real tricky situation, because you've got to basically break up and disappoint someone and do it when there's going to be likely conflict. And so what a lot of people do is they just simply avoid that, too hard basket, and instead they go and have an affair, or they just sabotage the relationship, twist their partner's arm so that they get to say it. But in the end of it, that's not the way to do it.
Well, at the end of the day, there's pretty much always going to be pain, isn't there? So how can you handle that sensitively and respectfully?
Well, I think keeping in mind there, you have to remember, it is short-term, there's going to be a lot of pain, long-term gain. So the first thing you want to do is you want to sit down with them and face-to-face have the conversation. Set some time aside, no distractions around, and don't put it within half an hour or 20 minutes. There's not a time. You've got to give yourself plenty of time to talk through it.
I'm laughing because, you know, some people might think, oh yeah, 20 minutes, we'll be done, it'll be sorted.
Absolutely. Or they're thinking, I'll text.
Do you find that people do actually think that?
Yeah, they can be really insensitive, and you've got to be respectful, because how you break up with someone is going to determine how they're going to recover. You know, if you don't give them an answer, if you don't treat them with respect and sit in front of them and let them ask questions, they could be wounded for years.
Well, what about where you do that? Because some people might say, well, I'll break up with them over dinner, or you don't want to do it in a public place, do you?
No, I think you want privacy, and I think you want no time restrictions on that, and you want to give them the chance to ask questions. The second thing I'd say to people is make sure that you are honest with your answers. You know, this whole thing around, well, I've got a lot on my plate right now, or I'm confused. You know, I'm a guy, I don't really know about commitment, all of that garbage. That's not going to cut it. You want to own it and say, look, I don't have these feelings for you anymore, as much as that's hard to hear. And that these are the reasons why we're breaking up. Because
you don't want to be sending a mixed message, because if the other person's only going to be saying, well, let me change, I can do something, possibly.
Absolutely. If you say, you know what, I've got a lot on my plate right now, well, they're just going to wait until you clear your plate. So you know you have to own it, and you have to make it clear that this isn't going to go forward in the future. The next thing you want to do is you want to have a complete cut of contact with them. Obviously that's a little different if you've got kids involved, but if you don't have kids, then you want a good month apart at least, where you're not constantly seeing each other. I mean, I remember times when I've broken up with girls in the past, and I'd see them the next day, and within the end of the week, you know, we're going out again.
Back together.
You know, particularly when you throw a bit of sex in there, and it all gets very familiar, and it's a disaster.
John.
So having that break is really important, of no contact. It's tough, but you're really sending a message there that we're not going to fall back into similar patterns. The next thing you want to think about as well is to stop hanging on behaviours. So you don't want to be going around to their parents' place for Sunday dinner after a breakup, or hanging around their friends, or going to their social hangouts. You want to really break those patterns so that you're not going to constantly bang into them all the time. And finally, if there are kids involved, you want to be really responsible there.
Yeah.
Formalise the arrangements and make sure that, okay, you're not going to be intimate anymore, but we do have to respect that there's got to be consistency with the kids and how we do this as a team. So all of those things are important to keep in mind when you're thinking about how to break up with someone.
And what about the timing? You obviously don't want to be doing it late at night, for instance, which obviously is a
because generally you'll have tears,
yeah,
and then you'll feel bad about things, and then you'll go and have sex. So you don't want to do that. You want to.
I shouldn't laugh at it.
It just happens.
It does.
So you then want to think more about doing it in the daytime, not having a time restriction on you, not having a whole lot of people around, and knowing that if they're going to ask you questions, then you've got to be honest about them. And
you've
not
got to
lead
have the
them
time
on.
to answer those questions as well, don't you?
Yeah.
And obviously you don't want to do it late at night. You don't want to do it at a time when the person's got to rush off to some important appointment, or they've got some big presentation coming up the next day. I mean, to be respectful to them, don't you?
That's right.
So, or before their birthday, or on their birthday. I mean, how many times we heard of that?
Yeah,
Or
absolutely.
at Christmas, or on New Year's. It's like, that is the most selfish thing to do.
Think about this, and maybe also think before going into that meeting, what are some of the questions they're going to ask me, and what do I want to tell them here? So that you've done a bit of preparation beforehand. But short-term pain, long-term gain here. It's awkward, it's uncomfortable, nobody likes it, but you're better off going through that hard part initially, getting everything out on the table, and then cutting the contact. And it might be that in 2-3 months' time they want to meet because they've got some more questions. Okay, give them that. But ultimately what you've done is you've really given them no feeling like they can hang on here. And that's the message, no mixed messages.
Okay. All right, John, thank you for that. As always, fantastic. And we'll see you next time.
Your love life, let's talk about it at naomishow.com.